بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. This is Thursday, the 10th of June, 2020. And in our series Reflections on the Quran, this is broadcast number 220. For the last few days, we have been discussing Surah Baqarah, the second chapter of the Holy Quran, and we actually been discussing verse 87, and this is the fifth broadcast of those deliberations. Just to remind you that these broadcasts are brought to you by the Lahore Ahmadiyya community, which was created by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's teaching was that although other people want to continue prophethood, but the Holy Quran says that the Holy Prophet Muhammad was the Khatmun Nabiyyin, and the Holy Prophet explained this by saying, La Nabi Abadi, there is no prophet after me. So no prophet, old or new, can come after the Holy Prophet Muhammad. With him, prophethood ended. And the companions of the Holy Prophet were concerned and asked, what will happen to the Ummah? Because they pointed to the Israelites and said one prophet would come, and even while that prophet was with them, they would go astray. Now, the example of Moses, he went up the mountain for a short while, and people he left behind made idols and started worshipping idols and so on. Why do you think Jesus overturned the money chambers tables in the synagogue, in the temple? And the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to them that God will appoint mujaddadeen. That is mujaddadeen, that is reformers. Who won't be prophets, but they will reform Muslims and all the wrong things which have become a part of religion, they will clear them. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad claimed that he was the Mujaddid that was to come, one of them. Many had come before him. But his distinction was that the Holy Prophet had used the words, the titles, Messiah and Mahdi for a Mujaddid, and he was that person. He also taught us that some people say that all of the prophetic revelation that the Holy Prophet received is not in the Holy Quran. Some people say Ayah Rajim is missing. Some people say Surah Walayat is missing. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad said nothing is missing. All the prophetic revelation is with us in the form of the Quran. Also, some people say that some verses of the Holy Quran have been abrogated. At one time, people believed that more than 500 verses of the Holy Quran were abrogated. But Hazrat Sahib taught us that no verse of the Holy Quran was, is, or ever shall be abrogated. So the Holy Quran is complete and it is perfect. And he taught Muslims that they should not be calling each other kafirs, because the Holy Prophet Muhammad said that if one reciter of the kalima says to another reciter of the kalima, you are a heretic, then it is the person saying it who's the heretic. And he also taught us that jihad is a fundamental duty of every Muslim. But its definition is as given by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, which was that when returning from fighting, the Holy Prophet Muhammad said, from the minor jihad we return to the major jihad, and explained that the major jihad is a struggle with your own souls, with your own selves. That let us go to the verse that we're going to discuss today. As I said, chapter 2, Al-Baqarah, verse 87. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد آتينا موسى الكتاب وكفينا من بعده بالرسل وآتينا عيسى ابن مريم البينات وأيدناه بروح القدس أفكلما جاءكم رسول بما لا تهوى أنفسكم مستكبرتم ففريقا كذبتم وفريقا تقتلون. And we indeed gave Moses the book, and we sent messengers after him, one after another. And we gave Jesus, son of Mary, clear arguments and strengthened him with the Holy Spirit. Is it then that whenever there comes to you a messenger with what your souls desired not, you were arrogant? And some of you gave the lie to, and others you would slay. Now, yesterday we looked at the word Ibn Isabna Maryama. Next word is Maryama, which is of course a name. Hazrat Maryam, Jesus' mother. And No, where am I? Oh, here we are. And the next word is Maryam al Bayyinati. We're going to look at Bayyinati. And its root, the the three consonants on which it is based, is Ba, Ya, and Nun. Ba, Ya, and Nun. And it occurs in the Holy Quran 523 times in 13 forms, which means 13 words made from this root, these three letters appear in the Holy Quran. 266 times as Bain. So that takes care of most of the things. 119 times as Mubin. 71 times as Bayyinat, and 35 times as Bayyan, and 18 times as Tabayyana, and then a few times, others appear a few times. Yubayyana lana mahiya, chapter 2, verse 68. Made clear, clarified. Yubayyin lana ma launuha. That's in the next verse. Again, make clear. So to make clear is one meaning. And of course, that also means if you're making something clear, you're explaining it. So chapter 43, verse 52, Wala yakadu yubayyinu. So that means, it's explained. Again, clarified. But then you have the bayyana lahumul haqqu, chapter 2, verse 109. It became clear. Yatabayyana lakumul khaytu. Became clear, became distinct. This is between darkness and light and so on. So you can see that although here it means distinct, clear, but something is placed between two states, the state of darkness and the state of lightness, and there's something in between. So it's also used as a noun to mean a speech. Allama hul bayan, the speech. Thumma inna alayna bayanahu, its explanation. And one form is also used as what's called a location adverb. The verb is the doing word. And an adverb is a word that adds information to the verb. So it could be time, when something was done. It could be place, where it was done. So it's also used as a location adverb. Awanun bayina zalika, in between. Musaddi musaddiqan lima bayna yadayhi. So here it's just the past tense. In chapter, well, there are many such examples. Chapter 4, verse 58. وَإِذَا حَكُمْتُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ أَن تَحْكُمُوا بِالْعَدْلِ. So between people. So we'll come back to some verses of the Holy Quran, but let us have a look at the wider meaning of the word. Al-bayyinu, it means separation. As I was saying to you, something came in between and separated something. It could be making something clear. So you're putting something that takes the confusion away, to separate. But if you're separating something, it could also mean that you're joining or combining two things. For example, in divorce, I was trying to think of this example. In divorce, we say talaqan ba'inan, talaq bain. So that is the divorce. That is like decree absolute in English. The permanent divorce, after which their relationship is formally, completely terminated. In the UK, if you go to family court and you want a divorce, first you get a decree nisi, which is a temporary divorce. After which, if you can come to an agreement or something, you can go back to court and you can say, oh, well, we changed our minds and, don't proceed with decree absolute or permanent divorce. So the judge pronounces a temporary divorce, decree nisi, and then you have 6 weeks. So it's not that different from Islamic law, if Islamic law is properly understood and applied. Okay, anyway, to get back to this is a divorce after which the relationship between husband and wife is finally totally terminated and they are separated. And that was what we started with, to separate something. And then we have al-bayan, which is also based on and derived from the same root. And this means that something becomes fully apparent, clearly. There is no doubt, there is no confusion about it. So it appears, and you know clearly what it is trying to show and do. For example, the same bayyana shajarun. What does that mean? The tree sprouted leaves or blossoms or something like that. So after autumn, clearly those leaves and things become apparent, and it becomes clear that spring is here. So things that come first. Now, this is the opposite of the expression Gatama, which is used in chapter 3, verse 186, 6 of the Holy Quran, which means to hide something, to cover something up. And this means to make it apparent, make it clear, reveal it, show it, and it's also the opposite of the word akhfa, which again also means to hide something. And the Quran in chapter 5, verse 15 calls itself Kitabun Mubin. And that is a book that is completely clear. And the Quran says, in the beginning it says, this book, in which there is no confusion, there is no doubt. So the Holy Quran, God says, clearly tells you how to live your lives. And the point is that there are two ways of getting information. One is through our own efforts. We struggle, we do research, and so on and so forth, and we come to some conclusion. Now, the difficulty with that is another person does exactly the same thing and comes to a different conclusion. So which one is correct? This applies to physical laws and physics and chemistry and so on. And this is why you have competing theories. And for example, even in religious matters, at Hazrat Saab's time, Sir Sayyid Ahmad Saab said, according to the Holy Quran, Jesus is dead. Other scholars said, according to the Holy Quran, Jesus is in the heavens. What? Both are referring to the same book, but each is led to a different conclusion. And this happens frequently in research about, physics and chemistry and so on. Now, there are people who say that revelation ended with the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Well, if that is the case, then both parties are insisting and saying, look, I'm basing my research and conclusions on verses of the Holy Quran, which is correct. How do we find out which is correct? And that is why revelation continues. But prophetic revelation has come to an end. But revelation to guide human beings. And this was what Hazrat Saab said. He said, Jesus has died. And I'm saying that because God has told me that Jesus has died. And God has told me to go and look in the Holy Quran. And there you will find this written clearly. And people have misunderstood it. So Hazrat Sahib looked at the Holy Quran and he then pointed out these verses from which you argue that Jesus has passed away. And that is the point, that God made this decision. God sent a person to tell people that they had misunderstood. Now, Hazrat Sahib himself, he believed Jesus was up in heaven until he had this revelation, and he was astounded. And then he started reading the Holy Quran, and he found, yes, as God has said, Jesus has died. It's in the Holy Quran. Of course, you're going to be astonished if for 1400 years most people have always believed that Jesus was bodily taken up to heavens and he's alive there and will come again. You will be astonished. So, with that, I think our time is over. So, I will take my leave of you. I just want to remind you that we don't broadcast reflections on the Holy Quran on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On Friday, of course, we broadcast the Friday sermon, Jummah Khutbah, and there's no broadcast on Saturday. On Sunday, we usually have two broadcasts, one in Urdu and one in English. But this Sunday, I'm taking part in another broadcast, so I'm unable to do two things at once. So that means that I will see you on Monday, inshallah. So I take my leave of you with the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep all of you safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, goodbye.